Just got my comfies on. Join me in the shabby old naughty corner. I have no idea what time it is anywhere where anyone follows Laurie Cox, Daybell, and the shenanigans going on in Boise, Idaho. She's up on a lot of charges. Including, murder of her own beloved children. So, it's funny, isn't it? Because there's a lot of trial action happening at the moment, and there's certainly more to come for a lot of the just incredibly intense stories that a lot of us have been following. And, you notice a theme that witnesses just can't seem to get any sort of, they just can't seem to get any sort of grief or expression of sorry or sadness for the actual victims out of their mouths. They get everything else out. Sure, they're scared and they were coerced and tricked and manipulated and everything like that. But the good people, trusting, naive, loving, sweet, really intending no harm. And yet there's never any fucking grief expressed for these people. There's, the closest we've got is a witness that wasn't someone that was involved in anything really. He was drawn in and made a little bit complicit in a way. But, it's that outcry from Dakota. Why, Tisha? But, really, for the people that are up there testifying in the case of Laurie Cox, as I prefer to call her, and Letitia Stalk, this will seem a bit harsh, but for Harley Harden, for example, you see just tears for, yes, okay, for their own loss. They've lost a lot. She probably does feel like she's lost all of her parents, etc. She's lost her mother. She's lost a person who she probably thought of as being a father figure. She found out that her father died of an overdose and not home invasion. He wasn't murdered. But where's the grief expression for Gannon? Like, this is just so terrible. Gannon did not deserve this. He's just a little boy. He was just a little kid. It's all the coulda, woulda, shouldas, isn't it? And and of course we see this to such an extreme when we look at Laurie Cox's trial so far, and the prelim for Chad Daybell. Sorry about the wriggling. And the prelim for Chad Daybell, and the prelim for, that was the prelim from memory, was that them both being together? And then it was separated after that. Anywho, you never get any heart-wrenching emotion, true emotion from these, so-called, let's say self-professed, empathetic, loving, spiritual people. It's all self-preservation. Now, when we're thinking about Audrey Barratarrio, should we have compassion? Of course, but we can look at all the people drawn into a cult. They get love bombed, they get manipulated, they have things held over their head, they feel completely defeated, or depleted, they have feeling given to them of being able to not survive without the group. They become isolated from everything else in their life. The group becomes everything. Utmost loyalty is demanded. People are played off against one another. They are, victims. They're traumatized for sure, right? And all sorts of people get drawn into cults, searches, people that just have these, different ways of thinking perhaps, or often it's very vulnerable people, lost people who can be more easily manipulated, more quickly isolated, right? But there's just something about Audrey, right? Because I want to know, and I'll tell you what maybe it was, what her little final straw was, what broke the back of Audrey Camel when she was in Rexburg, right? Because there was a catalyst. It didn't just happen like that she's been mulling this over. Although, that control is so evident, wasn't it? To stay with Melanie, to not be set loose, to know exactly what Audrey was doing, all because Melanie was going through a hard time and needed her. I mean, yeah, clearly Audrey was most likely being very played by Laurie and Melanie so they could keep control on her. But why? But what was the catalyst in Rexburg? Okay, so I'll just run you through a little bit because I've finally sort of caught up. I know people have probably already watched Audrey's testimony. I believe it was about 4 days ago. But she was a follower of Chaddaybell and was going to his conferences that he was speaking at, and so she's already part of maybe the prepper movement and everything. From what I understand, she's not someone that's already partnered up, and she's younger than these menopausal minions and witches in the coven. And she says she's read 3 of Chad's books. Only 3, Audrey? Only 3, okay. And she's around at the time when Laurie and Chad actually, their worlds collide, and Laurie is helping Chad sell the books. And, within 2 days of that event, Laurie is putting Chad into her phone. Is it a burner phone or an actual phone? As sort of, using a pseudonym for him, some silly pseudonym. We're talking October 2018 here, and Audrey had been around Chad for some time. Did Chad tell Audrey that she had been his wife at one point? Who knows? And in January or February, she's asked by Chad to befriend Laurie. Now, it's funny, isn't it? She's asked to befriend Laurie. Is Laurie told, here's someone coming into the fold, But the way Audrey tells it, it just doesn't ring true, right? Oh, I'm asked to befriend Laurie. We're both friends of Chad's, and because he couldn't always be in contact with Laurie because, he's married, but they're sort of having this love affair. It was to keep Laurie company and just to be friend. But we know from the texts that it was clear that they are talking excitedly about their new ideas. So, even if in October Chad hadn't infected Audrey so densely with some of the sort of more wild beliefs, even though very quickly the light and dark had come out, certainly by January or February, Audrey would have been privy to so much that this group were all talking about and learning and discussing and working with, right? It's just impossible to not believe that. And, you know, who's watching who, right? How did this really happen? Laurie does not need a minder. It's fucking laughable. Someone needed a minder, right? I don't know. This is just the dynamics of cults, maybe. Different little unions and connections and, you know, triangulations and things going on all the time. You know, we all know that everyone's privy to different information and they all feel special. And, you know, how did Chad ensure that Audrey felt special? Well, we'll get to that, won't we? And I think she's got a lot of explaining to do because she is trying to tell us that after definitely being in Chad's sphere from definitely October 2018, well before, she knows him then, she was aware of Laurie and him meeting, and then she's asked to befriend Laurie. This is her version of it. Then, sorry, I'm not doing this very well. I'm not feeling very well. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this. It's just going, whoa, in my head. I'll try to be a bit more. So she's been around for months, and then you can't tell me, but that by the time they come to doing castings for Charles, and who knows how many they'd done well before this, that this is the introduction to, oh, Charles has got a zombie. Really? We're supposed to believe that? Okay. So she's at castings for Charles. She did not tell the police then. I mean, what if, right? Charles is desperate in the months leading up to his death. We know that Laurie disappeared on him for 58 days and went to Houston to try and just reverse that little divorce proceeding long enough so that she could kill him and get what she thought was $1 million insurance policy. You're telling us that Audrey hasn't had an inkling, but she's told to be sticking really tight to Laurie, who needs a friend. I mean, she's clearly tight with them. She's involved in the casting. She knows Charles died. And then Chad, very manipulatively, right? Because it's all about love bomb, praise, and stroking the ego as much as it is about unsettling and off-footing, or, you know, just imagine what you know about cults. I'm sure you're all educated and you understand what I mean. Chad tells Audrey that she was married to Jesus in a past life. Her name was Joanna, and she was a wife of Jesus Christ. And she thought, well, wow, that's really interesting. Okay, well, you know, believe Chad about so many other things, and he's possibly telling people. What do you think? I think I'm offline.